I'm confused, Angelo President. Is it? So you want to interpret? You're going to interpret?
Kindly supposed to do it because you called.
Comrades, this one is Lucian's, it's not a tour. Ne? So he's just assisting the president, particularly in the interpretation.
Okay. 3:30. Okay.
Okay.
Buenas tardes, boa tarde a todos. Saúdo a direção da NAHO, a mesa do seu 13º Congresso e todos os delegados e convidados, bem como as organizações que representam, e agradeço o convite e o vosso caloroso acolhimento. O tema deste Congresso: avançar na organização dos locais de trabalho para defender a contratação coletiva, e leva à consciência de classe e faz avançar o internacionalismo. Sintetiza aspectos constantemente prioritários do movimento sindical de classe para a organização de luta dos trabalhadores contra o sistema capitalista, o imperialismo, o colonialismo, por uma sociedade socialista. Sou dirigente da Federação Nacional de Sindicatos de Trabalhadores em Funções Públicas e Sociais, filiado na Central Geral dos Trabalhadores de Portugal, CGTP-IN, e presidente da União Internacional de Sindicatos de Serviços Públicos, UISP, Serviços Públicos, da Federação Sindical Mundial, cujo secretário-geral é o camarada Zola Zapeta, da direção da NAIO, secretário-geral da NAIO.
I extend my greetings to the National Executive Committee of NEHAO, the chair of its Congress, all delegates, guests, and the organization they represent. I thank you all for the invitation and your warm welcome. The theme of this Congress: advancing workplace organization to defend collective bargaining, heighten class consciousness, and advance internationalism, summarizes the continuous priorities of the class-oriented labor movement in organizing worker struggles against the capitalist system, imperialism, and colonialism, and for a socialist society. I am the leader of the National Federation of Public and Social Service Workers Unions, affiliated with the General Confederation of Portuguese Workers, and president of the Trade Union International of Public and Allied Services Unions, the TUI-PSNA, of the World Federation of Trade Unions, whose General Secretary is Comrade Zola Zapeta. A member of the NEHAO National Office. Comrades, I cannot speak about the TUI without mentioning the WFTU, whose founding Congress took place 80 years ago on the 3rd of October 1945 in Paris. Its emergence responded to an urgent need in a world transformed by the 1917 Russian Revolution, the emergence of the first socialist state, the defeat of Nazi fascism, and the end of World War II. Its statutes define the WTFTU as a class-conscious oriented federation of progressive unions founded on fundamental principles to be a democratic structure based on representative participation, anti-capitalism, anti-imperialism, and anti-colonialist. To be a federation of class-oriented trade unions from all over the world that promotes international solidarity in worker struggles against exploitation, for a decent life, to play a decisive role in building a world without the exploitation of man by man, and to promote socialism. To carry out its work amongst workers, the WFTU statutes created the trade union internationals, sectoral-based organizations with their own statutes and organizational autonomy, but guided by the political and trade union decisions adopted by the WFTU at its congresses. These organizations are fundamental to promote internationalist solidarity actions in the workplace and to give substance to the WFTU's revolutionary project, bringing together trade unions and class-oriented federations from all continents. Their aim is the collective construction of broad demands for each sector, structured through the sharing of knowledge about the problems affecting workers in each sector in each country, taking into account their political and social contexts. For this purpose, the TUI-PSNA places great emphasis on the internationalist and solidarity action supporting the sectoral struggle for public administration workers worldwide to achieve and uphold their rights, as well as to defend the public services they provide to the people. The WFTU and TUI-PSNA consider the social functions of the state and free public services, including healthcare, education, social security, the right to water, housing, transport, amongst many others, are basic needs which, following the defeat of Nazism and the end of World War II, emerged from the demands of workers and the people. They became a social reality inspired by the Russian Revolution of the Soviet Union, whose state apparatus was under workers' control and were later consolidated through the struggle of workers in each nation. Throughout its 76-year history, the TUI celebrated its 76-year anniversary in October last year in Johannesburg. The TUI-PSNA fundamental task has been to grow and strengthen its organization in order to enhance international action and solidarity. This stance was of foremost importance in the development of proposals and struggles for universal rights, such as decent wages, an end to precariousness, collective bargaining, a reduction in working hours, trade union rights, and free public services, amongst others. Fundamental aspects of ensuring a more decent life for workers and populations. However, all the challenges affecting the following fall of the Soviet Union had also an impact on the TUI-PSNA. Sorry. Comrades, US imperialism and its allies, particularly NATO and the European Union, are intensifying the militarization of international relations and pursuing a strategy of encirclement, creating instability and conflict with their adversaries, notably China and Russia. In its attempt to resist the decline of its hegemonic role, US imperialism is intensifying the recessionary trends already persistent and present across the world. A system also influenced by the strengthening and expansion of BRICS, which are challenging the dominance of the dollar. In an attempt to resist this, the imperialist system promotes war, economies, heightens inflations, and reshapes energy systems to serve financial capital, leading to a concentration and centralization of wealth in the hands of very few and to the impoverishment of millions of workers, whether active or retired. US imperialist interventions is intensifying in various parts of the globe. In Latin America, it threatens all those who do not submit to its interests and aims. Notable examples include interference in countries such as Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, the abduction of an elected president in Venezuela, and threats against Cuba. on which it imposes a criminal, commercial, economic, financial, and energy blockade. We must continue to strengthen our solidarity with Cuba in a call that can and must extend beyond the organization of the WFTU, reinforcing our support for the heroic Cuban people. In the Middle East, the US has launched an aggression against Iran and continues to support Israel's assault on Lebanon whilst perpetuating genocide against the Palestinian people. It is necessary to put a stop to this aggression and guarantee Palestinian people's rights to self-determination, as well as the recognition of an independent state of Palestine, with its capital in East Jerusalem. In Africa, attempts to destabilize wars, conflicts are intensifying, whilst the major G7 powers attempts to destabilize war and conflicts are intensifying, whilst the major G7 powers continue to exploit and plunder natural resources, and people struggle and resist for the right to sovereign development against colonialism. Gracias. Okay, sure. Gracias. The historical contradictions and limitation of the capitalist system are obvious in the accelerated class reconfiguration of states, replacing them at the service of large corporations and multinationals, which promote disinvestment in their social functions. They thus become incapable of fulfilling their obligations, spreading the illusion that privatization of public services will improve them when in reality it transforms them into new areas of business and capitalist exploitation. Capital promotes far-right fascist forces to flood the working class with reactionary divisionism, individualism, and the false promise of personal entrepreneurship. This strategy channels conflicts amongst the workers themselves in their quest for better living conditions, diverting attention from the real conflict, which is between capital and labor, and from the need for unity and organized struggle by the exploited class against exploitation. Meritocratic, racist, and xenophobic narratives which aim to confuse, deceive, and instill fear amongst the masses, thereby sowing divisionism amongst workers, must be resolutely combated. This struggle is waged alongside the workers through the building of class consciousness and their fight for the right to work with rights, for collective bargaining and collective agreements, for the improvement and valorization of wages and for a better life. The liberal attack on labor laws is intensifying, seeking to dismantle hard-won civilizational rights, normalizing precarious work, longer working hours, and other setbacks that undermine human dignity. This attack also targets trade union freedom, the right to strike and to protest, as well as the autonomy, independence, and internal democracy of class-oriented trade unions. Advances in technology and science are used by capital to increase exploitation and boost profits. However, human sacrifices continue as employers regard health and safety at work as an undesirable cost that reduces their profit margins. Okay, sure. Okay. Despite the efforts of the mainstream media, the strength and vigor of the workers' struggle cannot be concealed. Workers are resisting and in some cases making headway, both globally and regionally. The WFTU and its trade union internationals have demonstrated unwavering solidarity. In Portugal, after 11 months of struggle and 2 general strikes, workers and the General Confederation of Trade Unions launched to overturn the government and employers' labor package, which would have furthered workers' crisis and cost of living crisis, and the struggle for against precarious work in Parliament. In this regard, our TUI and PSNL will continue the documents for its forthcoming 19th World Trade Union Congress in Sri Lanka on the 13th of May, 2027. This will be an international event of the foremost importance for the dynamics of the class struggle of workers around the world in defense of contemporary rights against capitalism, imperialism, colonialism, fascism, and for a fairer society.
Camaradas, concluo afirmando ser consensual, quer na direção mundial da UIS, Serviços Públicos, quer no secretariado da FSM, que a ação do nosso secretário-geral, camarada Zola Zapeta, com o apoio da NAHO, deu de facto um impulso muito importante na atuação da UIS de Serviços Públicos. Este esforço centrou-se no desenvolvimento da organização e a fim de fortalecer e fazer crescer, aprovando anualmente planos de ação, assegurando o respectivo controle de execução, tendo em conta os problemas reais que afetam os trabalhadores e os serviços públicos em cada país, exigindo sempre a responsabilidade pelo seu cumprimento.
Comrades, I would like to conclude by stating that there is consensus both within the TUI global leadership and the WFTU Secretariat that the work of our General Secretary, Comrade Zola Zapeta, with the support of NEHAWU, has indeed given a significant boost to the activities of the Public Services TUI. This effort has focused on developing the organization in order to strengthen and expand it by approving annual action plans and ensuring their implementation is monitored, whilst taking into account the real problems affecting workers and public services in each country and always demanding accountability for their execution.
Viva o terceiro congresso, 13º Congresso da NAHO, viva a UIS, Serviços Públicos, viva a FSM, viva os trabalhadores de todo o mundo.
Long live NEHAWU, long live the TUI, long live the WFTU, long live the workers of the world. Maandla.
Amanda!
Already. Yeah. Amanda. Sabonga Kosas. Sabonga Mfundi. Comrades, we now, ngizwile ukuthi niyasazi isiPortuguese. Menqhwaba kakhulu. So it's good. You are an international union. Lobe kakhuluma isingisi beningamuzwi benizwa leyo isiPortuguese. Sabonga Kosas. Comrades, we are now taking the address by the General Secretary of WFTU, Comrade Papis, who will address us visual. It's good. You are and I hope the technical people are ready for him. Comrade Papis. Comrades, we are now taking the address by the General Secretary of WFTU, Comrade Papis, who will address us visual.
Dear comrades, brothers and sisters, on behalf of tens of millions of members of the World Federation of Trade Unions from all corners of the world, please accept our warm, militant and class greetings and our wishes for a successful and productive conference. I'm confident that your conference, through its decisions, will contribute creatively to further strengthening the presence and role of NEHAO in the lives, actions, and struggles of South African workers in general, and of course, in the public service workers in particular. NEHAO is an example of a militant, democratic, and class-oriented union that has kept very high the banner of solidarity and internationalism. It is one of the unions that carries with respect and pride the glorious and militant history of the struggles of the South African people and the South African working class for liberation from foreign colonial and neo-colonial shackles and from misanthropic and racist apartheid, and which fights steadfastly and firmly for a society based on democracy, equality, and social justice. We are proud that NEHAO stands firmly and fights through the ranks of the WFTU and has supported it unwaveringly, even in its most difficult moments. NEHAO is rightly represented by its General Secretary, Comrade Zola, who also serves as Secretary of the TUI Public Services, a historic TUI with a great history and a very important role within the structure of the great family of the World Federation of Trade Unions. Your conference is taking place at a time when workers around the world are facing the generalization and deepening of the capitalist crisis, accompanied by new attacks on their rights and achievements, a dramatic widening of social inequalities, further environmental degradation, and reckless overexploitation of our planet's natural resources. The genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza, supported by, encouraged by the United States, the European Union and their allies, the attacks on Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, the crude attempt to strangle Cuba through the illegal and immoral economic and energy blockade, and the open threats of military intervention, the military invasion against Venezuela, and the kidnapping of the country's president have once again revealed the aggressive character and inhuman nature of imperialism. The unprovoked imperialist attack against Iran, in violation of every principle of international law, once again reminds us that global geopolitical and economic rivalries continue to pose a direct threat to world peace and security. It is obvious that the motive of imperialism behind this behavior is neither concern for human rights nor care for democratic freedoms. Quite the contrary. The real motive is greed for profit. It is oil reserves and energy routes. It is rare earth, mineral, and geopolitical control of the planet. Of course, in Cuba's case, the motive behind their aggressive behavior is different. It is clearly rooted in class interests and ideology. They want to erase the example of a people who, through their revolution, choose the path of socialism, the path of a society based on solidarity and equality, rather than exploitation and social injustice. They cannot tolerate the determination of a people to assert their right to choose their own path of political, economic, and social development. They want only compliant states that align themselves with their interests and policies, especially in a region that they have arbitrarily and arrogantly defined as their own backyard. In order to secure and expand the profits of the monopoly giants, they do not hesitate to turn war into an outlet for the crisis that now permanently affects the capitalist system. The shift toward a war economy is clearly a priority for the ruling circles of capitalism today, as it ensures profitability for multinational monopolies and the expansion of the geopolitical power of developed imperialist states. The United States, the European Union, and their NATO allies are announcing massive increases in military spending, which, apart from being a threat to global peace and security, also mean even harsher austerity policies and widening social inequality. That is why the struggle for peace means first and foremost a struggle for the dismantling of NATO and all military coalitions, a struggle to defend the right of every people to choose the path of their economic and social development without interventions, sanctions, blockades, and economic wars. Economic and social inequalities across the globe continue to grow. Entire populations are forced to leave their countries either as refugees or migrants because of uncontrolled military conflicts and conditions of economic and social deprivation. International organizations and collective security mechanisms are manipulated and instrumentalized while international law is being replaced by the law of the powerful. Fascism is once again finding favorable political and ideological and social conditions and once again raising its head. We are proud because under the flag of the World Federation of Trade Unions, millions of workers in dozens of countries are mobilizing in solidarity with the Palestinian people, demanding justice and freedom for Palestine, and condemning not only Israeli barbaric aggression, but also the support and encouragement of that aggression by the dominant circles of imperialism. The solidarity with heroic Cuba, not only through slogans, but also through campaigns of material assistance, fundraising efforts, and collections of essential goods. We express solidarity with Venezuela and with all peoples targeted by imperialism because they refuse to surrender to its geopolitical plans. Severe and relentless attacks on workers' labor and social gains also continue. Temporary, precarious, and uninsured employment is expanding and becoming established. Unemployment, precarization, and overexploitation of vulnerable workers as cheap labor, and the anti-people and anti-worker legislative measures systematically and methodically promoted by neoliberal governments are steadily undermining employment with rights and collective bargaining agreements that reflect the contemporary needs of workers. Individual contracts, privatizations, outsourcing, teleworking, service leasing are just some of the forms taken by this harsh neoliberal offensive. Democratic and trade union freedoms are being restricted and challenged. On the altar of profit, human sacrifices continue as occupational health and safety are considered by employers to be an undesirable cost that reduces their profits. Major social achievements such as social security and public health care are being privatized, while the arbitrary increase of retirement ages continues methodically. The attack on workers in public and social services is particularly harsh. This attack stems from the desire of capital to expand into as many new areas of profit as possible and to exploit the wealth created by state investment in public services. The policy of privatization in public services, as well as the general reduction of the social role of the state through austerity policies and so-called fiscal discipline, are key components of the neoliberal capitalist offensive of recent decades. The theme under which your Congress is being held successfully reflects the key priorities facing the class-oriented trade union movement today, not only South Africa, but across the world as a whole. Advance workplace organization to defend collective bargaining, heighten class consciousness, and advance internationals. At a time when globally it is evident that labor relations are continuously deregulated, collective negotiations are shrinking, and collective agreements are violated, when stable and permanent employment is being replaced with so-called flexible forms, when child labor, instead of being eradicated, is making a fierce comeback, when public utilities and other social enterprises are rapidly privatized, the slogans developed by the various think tanks that serve the economic system and which are adopted with great pleasure by the ITUC and then turn to be slogans also of ILO for a new social contract, social collaboration, social dialogue, in practice is evidently an empty slogan. What workers need, it is not slogans, but rights, measures that reduce exploitation and social inequality, that practically support organization, collective bargaining, and collective agreements, that limit the greed of monopolies for more and more profits at the expense of wages, health, insurance, and generally to cover the contemporary needs of those who create wealth through their labor. We demand and will keep fighting for a genuinely representative and pluralistic ILO with democratic and participatory operating procedures as dictated by the role and the reason for which it's supposed to have been created. We know that employers and governments are satisfied and comfortable with a complete monopolization of workers' representation in the ILO by the ITUC. They thus avoid annoying voices defending the class interests of the workers and opposing the double standards policy and the selective targeting of countries for the convenience of the dominant circles. The struggle to defend collective bargaining and workers' labor and social rights is fought every day in the workplace through the participation of workers via organization and hard class struggle, and not through procedures and so-called social dialogues conducted far from workers, which most of the time serve as a means to channel policies that have nothing to do with the interests and legitimate demands of workers. The strongest weapons of workers is in these struggles are solidarity and internationalism. And your slogan rightly highlights the duty facing every class-oriented trade union to strengthen the class consciousness and fighting spirit of workers, and to further deepen the connection of our struggles in every country and continent with a global struggle against a system that reproduces war and exploitation and fuels oppression, discrimination, and social injustice. The encouraging and hopeful element within the depressing picture of today's world is that workers are not passively accepting these anti-people and anti-worker attacks. Guided by class-oriented trade unions, millions of workers around the world are choosing the path of struggle to defend their trade union, social and political rights. Through militant mobilizations in every corner of the globe, they demand jobs with rights that ensure the satisfaction of their contemporary needs. And we have every right to be proud, because class-oriented unions that are affiliates or friends of the World Federation of Trade Unions across the world have led and supported major mass and militant struggles. As expected, the stronger workers' resistance becomes, and the more massive and militant these struggles grow, the more frequent become the phenomena of authoritarianism, repression, police persecution of trade union leaders, and attacks on trade union freedoms, particularly the right to strike. However, it is not only employers and governments that are mobilized to undermine workers' rights and struggles. Employers and governments also seek to manipulate labor struggles by relying on yellow unions and compliant trade union leaders. In many cases, workers find themselves confronting not only employers and the state, but also unions that follow the path of class collaboration and integration into the system of exploitation. This path, as was once again demonstrated in the case of the arrest of former ITUC and ETUC General Secretary, is a path that reproduces careerism, bureaucracy, and corruption within the trade union movement. Dear comrades, brothers and sisters, last month, the Presidential Council of the World Federation of Trade Unions evaluated the course and activities of our federation over the past year and approved the action plan for 2026, as well as the guidelines on which we will move forward to implement the goals and priorities facing the world's class-oriented trade union movement in the coming period. International developments clearly place anti-imperialist and anti-war mobilization at the forefront of our priorities. Our annual campaigns on September 1st, which we have established as a day of action for peace, and on October 3rd, the International Day of Action, making the anniversary of the founding of the World Federation of Trade Unions, provide opportunities for coordinated worldwide actions of solidarity and internationalism under the umbrella of our federation. At the same time, the many and serious problems facing workers constitute the main axis of struggle for better living and working conditions and for the satisfaction of their contemporary needs. Wage and pension increases combating the high cost of living. The 35-hour work week without reduction in pay, occupational health and safety, the exploitation of migrants, the right to collective bargaining and to strike, and the impacts of automation and artificial intelligence are all issues highlighted through our plan of action. The recent Presidential Council has also taken an important decision. It has officially announced the organization of the 19th World Trade Union Congress on May 13, 14, and 15, 2027 in Sri Lanka. We are already in the 5th year since the Rome Congress, and according to our Constitution, our next Congress must be held in May 2027. The Presidential Council unanimously accepted the proposal of the WFTU affiliates in Sri Lanka to host the next World Congress there. It will be held in an Asian country where the People's Movement recently carried out major and difficult struggles that achieved significant victories, successfully overthrowing an authoritarian and anti-people regime. Naturally, our aspiration is to organize a Congress that will become a mass and militant global forum where class-oriented trade unions from every corner of the world will meet to discuss, plan, exchange experience and knowledge, and adopt guiding decisions that will give new momentum to the struggles for a better world without imperialist wars and interventions and without the exploitation of human beings by other human beings. It is obvious that in our era, the conditions for truly decent working and living standards for all workers exist in abundance. The rapid development of science and technology has led to a tremendous increase into productive capacity of human labor. The central issue for us is that these capabilities should not be used to increase capitalist profits and create immense fortunes for a few, but rather to ensure decent living and working conditions for those who, through their labor and effort, are the real creators of society wealth. Organization and struggle are the only path capable of overturning the existing realities of misery, exploitation, and social injustice. We struggle under very difficult and often harsh conditions against enemies who possess enormous resources and who do not hesitate to employ a fifth column within the ranks of the trade union movement itself. Nevertheless, we remain optimistic. We have confidence in the judgment and orientation of the working class. When the working class becomes conscious of its position and role in the progress of society, when through its daily small and large struggles it realizes its strength and understands its historic mission, it becomes an invincible force. With our united and organized struggles, the system that generates crisis and reproduces exploitation can be defeated. A world free from wars and imperialist interventions, free from exploitation and discrimination, a world where work is permanent, stable, regulated, and safe, is achievable. Dear comrades, I wish every success to your Congress, and I am sure that you are going to have the decisions that are going to lead the working class of South Africa to the street, to the path of victory. Thank you very much.
Jabula mangishaya midlwembe. Jabula mangishaya mapunu. Umama uyajabula mangishaya midlwembe. Umama uyajabula mangishaya midlwembe. Jabula mama, jabula mama, jabula mama, jabula mama. Ndizawukhwela phezu kwendlu kaBaba, jabula mangishaya midlwembe. Ndizawukhwela phezu kwendlu kaBaba, jabula mangishaya mapunu. Jabula mama, jabula mama, jabula mama, jabula mama. Ndizakhwela phezu kwendlu kaBaba, jabula mangishaya mapunu. Ndizawukhwela phezu kwendlu kaBaba, jabula mangishaya ipunu. Jabula mama, jabula mama, ujabula mama, ujabula mama. Kasifu mabanda ya makapi mama. Amandla. I want to say a remix. Comrades, thank you very much. Indeed, let us welcome the address by the WFTU. We are now, comrades, going to call the elections to come forward to present a report on the confirmation of the nominated candidates for this state in Congress. While we sing, election can proceed, please. Bandla, thank you comrades, thank you comrades. Bacela isikhathi.
Thank you, comrades, and good afternoon. Thank you, comrades, and good afternoon. Mine is just a simple task, is the confirmation of candidates and the announcement of the election process. Indeed, I am here to confirm that we did receive duly completed nomination forms that were compliant with the rules and procedures that were set. At this point in time, comrades, I won't be addressing the election component because after verifying the nominations, it was indeed clear that all positions, all 7 positions, are at this stage uncontested. Therefore, we will now make the formal or final announcement at the appropriate time, closer to the close of Congress on Monday. Thank you so much.
Savumela, sithethe intwenye savumela, 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 sithethe intwenye savumela. Amandla. Amandla. Thank you, comrades. Thank you, comrades. And thanks again very much, Comrade Election. Comrade, that report was to the Congress, and we request Congress to formally confirm and to adopt that report of the elections on record, so that there are no gray areas. Eastern Cape. Okay, KZN. Eastern Cape, KZN. President, you are covered.
Thanks very much, President. As Eastern Cape, we are rising to accept the result. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. KZN.
As KwaZulu-Natal, we are rising to second Eastern Cape in supporting and accepting what had been presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, the next two items, we're going to swap them around. Angetu KZN is always flexible as we run the program. We're swapping them around on the basis of their meaning. The one is the cutting of the cake, the 39th anniversary, which is celebration. The other one is the recognition of the comrades who have passed on during the period under review. Now we're going to take the latter first. We start by mourning, and then we celebrate in honor of those comrades, instead of starting by celebrating, and then we go and mourn. I'm sure there are no complaints about that. At this stage, we're going to ask Comrade Keith if he's ready to. No one is going to speak or read their names. We're just going to play them on the screen while we stand in honor of those comrades. It will be about 10 minutes. Comrade Keith.
Hamba
Thank you very much, comrades. Ngiyabona ukuthi benifuna ukusiculela singaqula 1-2 verse that hamba kahle emkhodo ngendlela yethu. I'm sure you don't feel that you have performed this task until you sing for your own. Umkhonto sizimisele ukuwabulala wonke lamabhunu. Thina bantu bomkhonto sizimisele ukuwabulala wona lamabhunu. Mkhonto wesizwe hamba kahle mkhonto wesizwe. Thank you very much, comrades. You can be seated. Thank you very much. You can be seated. May indeed their soul continue to rest in peace, and may their spirit continue to live in us and inspire us as we journey this struggle for which they were with us. Now, comrades, we have said yesterday we will be beginning today the program or the process and the build-up towards our 40th anniversary by celebrating the 39th anniversary of our existence as a union, today being our birthday, signifying 4 decades of a struggle to transform the public service and the life of our people in general. At this Congress, therefore, and these Congress delegates, we are fortunate to represent hundreds of thousands of members of unions, even the retired members or workers that have associated themselves with NEHAWU, to appreciate and celebrate this milestone of the union. So as we are standing here and we are sitting in this Congress, in everything else that we are doing, we're doing it on their behalf, because Bas Tumile, Nekeke will eat it on their behalf. Nekeke will eat it on their behalf because we are delegates, delegated by them to come and do things on their behalf at Congress. So I want to call upon the National Office Bearers, the former National Office Bearers. Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. Now, so there's been a slight amendment, but now, the ending class leader, Nama NOPs, the leadership, formal leadership needs abagahle, nibe desire to kusasa kumawat. Namhlanje, entry, nkalozo zoskulera, and then Nama NOPs, sikati cake. Yeah. I'm saying la papas. Ninga waras I'll cut on your behalf. Bona sisebenzela ipe. Bona basebenzela icheck. Kalekisa. Sebenzela ipe. Sikelela. Osalekisa. Asika ke. Yehova. Kalekisa. Yehova kaleki thina sisebenzela ipen sikelela bona sisebenzela icheck kalekisa sisebenzela ipen Abandla, comrades, sicela nisiculele ibhede ningabe nejealous tu. Culela ibhede as a belief. Siyasika lapho. Bebedeni hawo. Ngifuna le ngaphansi le. Hayi, ngifuna le. Yini Okay. Nehawo kisalomonyane nkokeki alewena. Kisalomonyane nkokeki alewe. Oh, nkuke ke alewena nkuke ke ale ane haho ke salomonyane nkuke ke ne haho ke salomonyane nkuke oh nkuke ke alewena nkuke ke alewena ne haho ke salomonyane nkuke ke aliwe ne haho munyane nkuke ke alewe nkuke ke aliwe na nkuke nkuke ke aliwe ne haho salomonyane nkuke ke aliwe ne haho munyane nkuke ke aliwe nkuke nkuke ke aliwe na mandla kitabo bra bob tse kitabo bob magan na ka tsa bona ba sa ga ne ha. Alright, comrade, now retela mo itemeng ya outline the commissions or re tsebo re tloa mona our delegates ba ilo participate ko commissioning e ifeng ya o bolela ka eng and le gore se ba se swarisitsweng ke the province tsa bona ke se sefeng ke tla bitsa general secretary ro atle ka pele a tlo tsamaisha lenane o leo. Yes.
Amandla awethu comrade, sorry, we are behind the time. Firstly, we want to indicate that in terms of the program, we should have started the work of the commission immediately after one item. But because we were carrying over what should have been concluded yesterday, so that's why we're here. And we will not tamper with an arrangement for the international seminar. The international seminar will start at 6:30. The first speaker or the presidents will be opening it at 6:30. It's going to be at OR. Provinces would have known that we can't all of us be accommodated there. So there will be representatives from provinces into the international seminar. But we can't stop, though we have not accommodated, but we can't stop our guests to join us. We'll discuss and see if there are costs, but guests will have to be there, those who wish to be there. So it's going to be 6:30 is starting. We expect everyone attending the international seminar to be wearing a different T-shirt. There's a T-shirt that is dedicated for that seminar. That T-shirt is black in color with Cuban and Venezuelan flags, because we are making a call no to U.S. aggression. So that's the first thing. So based from that, from there, comrades, it means that commissions will not take longer, except for comrades to know where is the venue, who is the chairperson, who is the facilitator or resource person, and the scribers. Then comrades, they can adjourn. We want comrades by 5:30 to be released so that they can refresh and do the work of ensuring that by 6:30 we are starting. So we're looking at the time now. We have 45 minutes to move from here to our commissions and then do everything else that we wish to do. But it's quite clear that the work of the commission will start tomorrow, because tomorrow we're from 9 o'clock up until 2 o'clock. So we're covered. We have sufficient time to deal with commissions. Flexibility as directed by COSEDEN will assess at that time whether or not should we add or 2 hours as we proceed with the commission. So commissions are as follows. Commissions are along the pillars of NEHAWU. Pillars of NEHAWU is international, which represents the international working class solidarity. Ideological and political work, which reflect our theoretical understanding of the world and how that world finds its expression to our living condition domestically. Socio-economic commission that deals with contemporary living conditions that we are subjected to, particularly guided by the sectors we organize from, but overarching the microeconomic policy and what it represents in class terms. And the last one is organizing, is to build a capable organization that can carry all the resolutions that would have been taken in terms of these pillars. So those are the 4. Part of the organizational commission will have finance included there. So that the chairing, resource people and scribers are as follows. For international, the chairperson of Gauteng, Comrade Sello, and the chairperson of Free State, Comrade Mamiki, are given that responsibility of chairing these commissions from the beginning up until the end. The following comrades are resource persons: the Provincial Secretary of KZN, Comrade Ayanda, and the Provincial Secretary of Northwest, Comrade Zanele, and Comrade Lucian are the resource person in that commission. And we will want to invite international guests to join that commission if they will be around, because it's about the world outlook. And the scribers are as follows: Comrade Desmond Mlata and Comrade Kyle. Comrade Kyle is the comrade who was translating Portuguese, but written in English. I could have done that even myself. Ideological and political commission, and that commission, comrade, is going to be at Heathrow. That's a venue. I don't know which side, but at least Heathrow, you will look for it. Or look at the tallest chairperson that we have in the Union of the Austin province. Ideological and political chairpersons is Comrade Stumo, the provincial chairperson of Mpumalanga, and the chairperson of Northwest, Comrade Nomtoia. Resource persons is Comrade PS of Gauteng, Comrade Mzikaise, and the Provincial Secretary of Western Cape, Comrade Bakolise, together with Comrade Sydney, Comrade Mbulelo. I know most of you know him as Mandlana. Mandlana is his surname. The real name is Mbulelo. Scribers is Comrade Max and Comrade Tulile. It's going to be in Cape Town International. Socio-Economic Commission is going to be chaired by KZN Chairperson Comrade Sianda, together with Comrade Chairperson of Western Cape, Comrade Nomathemba. Resource persons is the Provincial Secretary of Eastern Cape, Comrade Mlungseleli, and the Provincial Secretary of Mpumalanga, Comrade Welcome, together with Comrade Tengo, whom we borrowed to COSATU, but we fraudulently brought him back for the purpose of this Congress. So, President, no fight. We are not stealing him. We just applied fraud just to get him. We'll bring him back. Comrade Tengo is a policy, social policy guy, ne? Social policy guy, if I'm not mistaken. And scribers will be Comrade Berry, our parliamentary officer. He looks like me. So any person who looks like me is Berry. And Comrade Stembe is doctor. And Comrade Doctor Stembe is so, the director, executive director of Christiani Institute. On organizational, is going to be the provincial chairperson of Limpopo, Comrade Linda, and the chairperson of Eastern Cape, President Magwaiwa. La chairperson and Purusha Utmanding Ati Comrade, Humanity Comrade Puti Mwezi. So, Comrade Puti Mwezi, together with the provincial deputy chairperson of Northern Cape, Comrade David Mkijima. Those are the chairpersons of those commissions. Resource persons is a provincial secretary of Free State and the provincial secretary of Limpopo, the provincial secretary of Northern Cape, together with the head of organizing, Comrade Casper, and the head of legal, Comrade Malose, and Untanga Zoma Kwaiba, Comrade Clement, our collective bargaining. There are resource persons for that commission. You will imagine, Comrade, that that commission is going to be the biggest one because there are a lot of issues to discuss. Scribers will be Comrade Dr. Musa Wenkosi, our researcher. and Comrade Nico, our researcher at Policy Unit, Comrade Ilwazi, our spokesperson, and Comrade Morongwa Motiba Mdleche, our national organizer. And that commission is going to be at Marco Polo, organizational. Socio-economic is going to be at King Shaka. So those are the commissions, President. And we have met with resource people earlier on, and the scribers and the chairpersons, so they will know what to do as they arrive. But please, comrades, we are making a plea that by 5:30, all commissioners must be released so that at 6:30 we start our international seminar. Thank you very much, President.
No questions, Moose, it's clear. So provinces are going to organize themselves. Comrades, let's just re-emphasize the fact that 6:30 we are starting a program. So whatever we do as we work to commissions, we have got international guests that we are hosting at this Congress. Let's try to be punctual. We adjourn for commissions, comrades. Thank you very much.